Welcome to The Connection Code, a podcast where we explore the relationships that make your life and work just a little bit better.
Hi, I'm Rachel Gilman-Rischel. I run a PR agency called 3PR. I'm equally obsessed with both food and relationships, introductions, putting people together. And I really love deep conversation as well, which is why this podcast with Jeana is such a joy.
And I'm Jeana Anderson Cohen. I've spent more than 13 years building a business that forces adults to make friends, which is called A Sweat Life. I'm also building a social gathering and event space in New Buffalo, Michigan called Petite Acres. So I am very obsessed with friends and gathering.
Okay, Jeana, we had a really amazing guest today, Carla Piñeyro Sublett, who we will go into detail about. But she inspired our big ask, which is, what does a holistic approach to life and work look like for you?
When I saw
I know.
When I saw this, so Rachel and I, for the listener, for a little look behind the scenes or a gander under the hood, we create a little preparation document because we're not animals. We like to prepare. And I was looking at our preparation document and I responded to Rachel's question with girl pass to start. And then I thought about it. No. And then I thought about it. I'm like, no, actually, I think what Carla means when she talks about a holistic approach to life and work is merging yourselves, merging your innie and your outie, if you will. And not to get too into Severance because Rachel does not follow that.
Nope.
Nope. But I think that I can gel with. And for me, it means being able to show up relatively similarly in work and in life. Maybe I won't tell the same stories at work as I would in my life, where with the people I have a shared history with and a shared understanding of my background. It might require a little more digging and work to get there, but I will still show up as myself and I won't sort of damper who I am as a person. So I think that's what it means to me, is being myself, not having to dim my light, not having to change who I am or sort of volume up, volume down on my personality. What does it mean to you, Rachel?
I love that because I want full volume, very shiny Jeana, always. I am just sort of processing because I did put some thoughts on paper before we talked to Carla, and I didn't realize that what I put down would actually weave its way into the conversation. So coming up, we talk about the way technology can erode your attention and take you out of your own life. And lo and behold, one of the things I talked about with a holistic lifestyle is feeling a desire to detach from technology, because fantasy Rachel would wake up feeling refreshed. I would not touch my phone. I would meditate. I would drink lemon water. What is the new thing called? Sun gazing. I would get outside for some sunlight. Yes, this is all a version of me that exists purely in my imagination. If I'm doing a few things right, I'm waking up and thinking, I'm grateful. I'm not touching my phone for 15 to 20 minutes. I'm having coffee, and I'm hopefully not getting in a fight with my kids. But I do feel like there's something incompatible about being holistic and being too engaged with technology. And that is a struggle and tension that I'm navigating.
Yeah. Well, I think, okay, so what I feel like your work self and your personal self benefit from the same exact sort of habits that make you a better person. And those habits can tend to be derailed by technology, which is, I think, the instinct that Carla was sort of leaning into when she, spoiler, took her family offline for a year, basically.
Amazing.
But I think every day I'm alive on this earth, I like to have a moment of fitness, friendship, fun, and fulfillment. And if I've
4 F's.
Yeah. And when I say fulfillment, I mean something where I'm working and it feels like I'm actually walking in my purpose. And so if I am doing all of those things, or even touching like 2 out of 4, 3 out of 4, I know I'm doing it right. And And it's pretty impossible to sort of separate your lives and be like, okay, outside Jeana, outie Jeana, fun Jeana gets to have fun. Work Jeana gets to be fulfilled. But Jeana, who is not work Jeana, does not get to feel fulfilled. So you sort of have to merge yourselves in order to sort of have your values fulfilled. And your values may be different than mine for feeling like you did the day right, Rachel, but that's what I need.
Will you say the 4 F's again?
Fitness, friendship, fun, and fulfillment.
Okay. I think those are really good pillars to keep in mind. Because a day with friendship's always better. Yeah. If you get moving, that's great. Everything is better with friends. Yes. I feel, well, this segues into Carla, who I hope is our new friend because we enjoyed her so immensely. Before we dive into her interview, Carla is amazing. I mean, she has had some really big, impressive jobs in the tech space. At one point, she was the CMO of IBM. But what really interested us is nothing on her resume and everything she has done through a journey, essentially, of trying to figure out mind, body, spirit, a more holistic way to operate, the discovery she's made about herself as she calls herself a recovering tech executive. She has a company called Co-Effect, and she has a podcast called Let's Go There. And those are 3 really great words to prompt discussion. Let's go there. Just let's do it.
Let's go there.
It felt instantly comfortable with her, which I think is the marker of a really good conversation. And here's Carla. Hi, Carla. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Rachel. Thank you. Hi, Jeana.
Hi, Carla.
Okay, so this is a podcast about connection, and we would be remiss if we didn't thank the connection that led to our conversation today. So we talked to the amazing Lindsay Shookus recently, and afterwards we were messaging, and she said, "Do you want more amazing people to talk to?" And I said, "Of course." And she goes, "It has to be Carla. Can I introduce you?" And it was the quickest yes. She made the warmest introduction, and here we are with you today. So thank you to Lindsay.
Thank you to Lindsay, my hype woman. I love her so much. I feel so grateful to have her in my life. And now you too.
Yes. Oh my God. One quick aside about Lindsay before we jump in. I was listening to Smartless and I heard them say her name twice on the episode. Yeah. And I was like, we know her. Okay, back to you, Rachel.
I know, we're just collecting and aggregating amazing women, and that's actually the secret joy of this podcast.
Yep.
I love
Okay. So Carla, I put on my research hat because a lot of the times when we have guests on this podcast, Jeana and I know them in some capacity, but it's so fun that you're a fresh face and I wanted to do my homework. And you have this incredible background, but I just actually felt like to welcome people to Carla World, it would be best if you used your own words to describe your background and how you landed where you are today.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, thank you. Well, I'll try to tell you the non-Googleable version, so it's more interesting. But I'm an immigrant, the daughter of immigrants. My family's from Uruguay, and I, I'm a recovering tech executive. I was in the tech industry for 25 years. I grew up through the ranks and worked my way from the lowest possible sales grade all the way up to the C-suite. And over the course of that time, just earned a reputation for turning businesses around. But at the end of the day, for me, where I got the fulfillment out of my work was in the relationships. And I've always said that I care about who I work with and for more than the actual work itself. And I have godchildren from work. I feel like if I'm going to spend time away from the people that I love, I want to love the people that I'm working with. And I reached a point in my career, I guess in around 2017, where I started to burn out. And I'd worked since I was 13 years old. And I was a CMO of a big tech company that sold. And I turned to my husband and I said, I think I need to quit my job. And to his credit, he said, I'd live in a trailer with you. And then I surprised him 30 days later. And I was like, and I think I want to unenroll the kids from school and take them around the world so that we can reconnect as a family. And, truth be told, what had happened was I'd become a ghost in my own home. And I realized that I was becoming disconnected from my heart. And I was operating from the neck up as a survival mechanism in the corporate world. And I didn't like who I was becoming. I was frightened of the family dynamic that was starting to emerge. We were all operating independently of each other. And I really wanted to set out to reconnect to my heart, reconnect to my family, and reconnect to people around us. And we call that period of time in our lives finding Ubuntu, where we actually documented all of it. And we also traveled. I should also say, we traveled device free during that time. So which was a total game changer and gift for our family as well.
I'm glad you brought that up because I noticed in my digging through your life history that you had these two really bold, intriguing choices. One being that you left your life behind to travel, and one being about the 100 first dates, which we'll get to. But with this trip, this is a selfish question. How old were your kids when you picked up and left conventional life behind? And I'll tell you why in a sec.
Yeah, they were 10 and 13, so about to start middle school and high school. And they turned, we actually pulled them out of fifth grade and eighth grade. And they turned 11 and 14 on the trip. And what is super interesting is I have my oldest is a son, my youngest is a girl, and they were drifting apart. They were just at a point in their lives where their lives were so different, being different genders, 3 years apart. But that trip bonded them. And they are now 18 and 21, and they are super close. And as morbid as this sounds, this is the Latina in me. I'm like, I could die tomorrow because my work is done. They have each other. And so that's one of the really amazing outcomes of that time together.
I am in awe. I can see, Jeana, you probably know exactly where I'm going with this, but I have twin daughters that are in sixth grade. And so we are experiencing this middle school shift that feels like a really fundamentally different emotional terrain than ever before. And it sounds like a fantasy to just pick up and go off the grid for a year and take the iPads away and take the watches away and be like, it's just us, or actually a nightmare. It depends how it would go. But what did you, this is a big lofty question, but what did you learn about your marriage and your role as a mom and yourself when you took this year sabbatical from being a tech executive?
Yeah. Well, what did I not learn? So first of all, I learned the impact that devices were having on us. So we thought our son was becoming like a moody teen. You know, we were getting to that phase where we were only getting grunts from him, like, rah, rah, in terms of responses. I mean, within 24 hours, Rachel, he was back. Like he was joking with us. He was making up games with his sister. He was cracking up. It was like a different child. And I thought I was struggling from insomnia. I was starting to worry that maybe I had ADHD. I couldn't make it through 2 pages of a book. And I slept like a champ. I was consuming books like you wouldn't believe. It was just wild. So from a tactical standpoint, I think that was one thing. I was recognizing the impact that devices were having on our brains, on our nervous systems, on our connection with one another. I also really realized that how much of connection happens at meals. And this is something that interestingly enough was extended during COVID. So, really our best conversations happened when we were sitting across the table from each other, and we were having every single meal together during those travels. And so it made me realize the importance of really setting that side of time, that time aside. And it's so easy not to do once the kids start playing sports and get into activities and everybody's kind of fending for themselves. So the value of that time together, dedicated time together. And then I think the other thing is it made me realize you don't have to have like a big grandiose trip around the world to do this. And really COVID taught me that. You can steal this moment at any point. You can throw your phones in the drawer at any point. You can make a decision to sit down to a meal together at any point, and that's just as powerful.
Logistically, I guess, Carla, I'm curious, would you say today that you would recommend families, couples, et cetera, have some sort of like phone-free time or zone or container for their lives?
Absolutely. And I would even go so far as to say, if it's a day a week, an afternoon a week, whatever you can spare, do it. But if you can actually do consecutive days once a year and do a true digital detox, I try to do 10 days a year now. And it is amazing what it does. And I have not done it yet this year, and I can feel it.
I know our faces are like 10 days. And just to clarify,
I would love that.
I mean, that means you are not touching a phone or a computer for 10 days?
Yeah. And there are a lot of people that are like, I could never do that. Like people actually get angry when I say that. They're like,
I could do it.
I could never do it.
I could do it.
Totally.
I could do it.
I mean, the reality is most of us have somebody in our life that can be the hotline, right? Or you can give
Mhm.
somebody a landline, or you can, there's a way to set it up. And for people that are in high powered positions and have teams that feel like they can't take the time away, I mean, so long as you're not a brain surgeon, I think it's possible, and I think that it's an opportunity to let the people around you shine, to give them a break from you,
Mhm.
and it's definitely worth it. I highly, highly encourage it.
Well, I think there's an interesting juxtaposition in this. People talk about tech detoxifying and this idea of getting off the grid or being unavailable. But I actually think what could happen is that you're reconnecting. And instead of your attention and time being utilized or eaten up by social media or other wasters, you're going to focus on the people in front of you. I mean, I was mentioning my parents are in town, I have family visiting, and we were all guilty last night at different points of being eyes down on the phone. I'm watching a little Facebook scroll, a little tech check in, a little game here and there. And I'm like, we are losing valuable minutes together with unproductive distractions just because the tech is there. It's like having chocolate chip cookies on the counter. Like, you're not hungry, but if you keep walking by a cookie enough times, it's going to end up in your belly, or at least for me.
Yeah, I mean, there's part of me that wonders how many years of our lives is this robbing? Like, we'll get to the end of our lives, and how many years
Yes.
will we have spent face down in our phones? And I think that you bring up another interesting point, Rachel, which is, I think, being conscious of the content that we're consuming. That's the other one that I'm really big on too, especially right now. Everything I'm being served up is, before and after pictures of facelifts, and eat more protein and eat more creatine and work out with heavier weights. And it's like,
Do we
gosh,
have the same feed?
I was just about to say, like, I'm
yeah,
getting some of that too.
yeah, like be careful what you click on,
Yeah.
turn your microphone off on all your apps, and just be really conscious of how you're shaping your algorithm.
But I think there's something to be said for, so data tells us, and lots of researchers have looked into the quality of connections in real life, or as you put it, 3D versus these digital connections. So 3D connections give us lots of positive brain chemicals. They give us lots of boosting chemicals in our brains for happiness, healthiness, and connection. Whereas our phones give us dopamine mostly, and they don't give us the other actual fulfillment brain chemicals. So we get sort of like a drug without the protein. It's like an empty calorie.
Mhm.
Totally. Yeah, it's a great point.
So, Carly, okay, I'm going to go backwards for a second. I could actually spend this entire conversation on your year away. I think there's so much juice there. But I also really loved in this interview you did where you talked about 100 professional first dates. And it sounds like you went on this curiosity journey and it ultimately led to a pretty big opportunity. But I think there's so much to be gleaned from this. I want to hear how you came up with it, how you did it, what the experience was like.
Yeah. So during my year off, I decided I wanted to be very intentional about my next step. And I didn't know what my personal and professional values were, other than knowing that I cared about who I worked with and for more than the actual work itself, like I said at the beginning. And so I started to say yes to every coffee date imaginable, running dates, hiking dates, coffee dates. I did them as I was traveling the world. I did them when I came home intermittently. And then whenever I met someone that just like I really made me vibrate and I felt like they gave me energy, I asked them for one or two more introductions of people that they thought that I should meet. And then there were also meetings where I like wanted to run away screaming. And those gave me insight too. And as that started to happen, it started to hone my values. I started to get clear on what it was that I was looking for and what I wanted. And at the end of that year, I jokingly say I put myself out to proposal. I basically told the people that I had the most connection with, I'm going to make a decision January 1, and if you have anything for me, let me know. And at that end of that year, I got four offers, four distinctly different offers. And then I used the values that
Wow.
I established during those 100 dates and said, okay, you know, are these people that I want to work with? Is this a platform for doing good? Am I going to make an impact? Will I have a seat at the table? Am I going to be at the table where the big decisions are being made? And it was super fascinating because of the 4, it came down to 2. And it was a really hard decision. And one decision was like huge money. Like we called it the shock and awe offer. One was like, I described it as like the cozy cabin. And we sat down as a family, we laid them all out. And my husband and daughter were like, big offer, big offer. And then my son turned to me and said, Mom, who do you want to be with every day?
Oh.
And I was like, so I did not take the big offer.
Ooh.
Wait, Carla, I don't want to overstep, but if I read your chronology correctly, the cozy cabin was a very big job.
Well, it was National Instruments. And so I got a big offer from IBM, and I got a big offer from National Instruments, and I said no to IBM and yes to National Instruments. IBM came back 2 years later.
That's what it was. I was like, you were the CMO of IBM. That's a big job. But
yeah, so I said no to them the first time.
Yeah. Oh, I love
and
that.
they just couldn't stop thinking about you. They never forgot the one that got away.
Ladies out there that are dating, take the tip.
Yeah. Say no the first time. I'm curious. Well, I'm sure Rachel and I have a million questions to follow up with. But first and foremost, what is your son studying in college that he's about to graduate with all of this insight?
Yeah,
by
he's
the way,
incredible. He's the king of the one-liner. He's got a ton of hustle too. He's studying business and he's studying marketing. God help him. He's going to sales. He feels like he has to learn sales in order to be a good business person, which I totally agree.
I'll tell you where I think you learned sales, and you did this too, and Jeana did this. You work in restaurants.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, y'all worked in restaurants?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Actually, it's what I'm encouraging him to do. I feel like that's like
everybody should.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Service industry is mandatory.
Yeah. I totally agree. And I also think, Carla, there are so many things we could pick apart and should and would if we had a multi-part series with you.
Which we could. I feel we could.
Yeah, we could. You talked about feeling like you vibrated with people. And I love the idea of that sort of like friendship chemistry, business connection chemistry. Can you dig into kind of the sorts of people who leave you feeling like, oh my God, I have to know them more?
Yeah. I mean, it's a chemistry thing for sure. You can fall in professional love with someone, you know?
Yes.
And so it is a chemistry thing. And, it's hard to describe. You just kind of know it when you know it. It's like when you meet somebody, then you're like, I want to be friends with you, or I want to spend time with you. You know, it's something you're vibing off each other. You riff off ideas. You feel like you can collaborate with that person. You can speak your truth. You can be really authentic with them. I'm irreverent. I'm informal. You know, if I felt like I could let that side of me show, then it was, you know, if I didn't feel like the other person was trying to control me or one up me, you know, because I got that a little bit. And so I'm kind of allergic to all of that.
Good for you. And I love the descriptors you just gave yourself about being informal and irreverent, because I think it is really hard to apply the right terms to who you are and how you show up and own it. And Jeana and I have spent a lot of time talking about being part of corporate environments where we just didn't fit, but we tried so hard to be malleable and make it work. But eventually the rubber meets the road and you're like, this isn't for me. I'm not in the right place. One thing I was really intrigued by is that I think you called yourself a recovering tech exec, and you've moved into this beautiful holistic space and you have this podcast. I want to hear about Carla 2.0.
Sure. Before I answer that, can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Always.
What made you not fit? What made y'all not fit?
Rachel, you want to go first or second?
Let's go trauma mining.
Okay.
We had a whole episode about this actually.
Yeah.
And my sister was a special guest. She had moved to Oaxaca for an experience that went very badly, but it was incredibly helpful and really affirmed that she wanted to be an educator. So I think our takeaway in general is that from failure, beautiful things can arise. I do love restaurants. I've worked in many a restaurant. I joined a hospitality group to do some marketing, and it didn't fit. I felt from like aesthetics to vibe that I probably was a square peg in a round hole. And I really, really wanted to be accepted and belong and add value. And it just became abundantly clear over time that what I was serving was not what they were ordering. And we parted ways. And it was really ego bruising, because who doesn't want to feel like they're wanted? But in having to start all over, I thought, oh, well, if I ran my own business, what could that feel like? And could I vibe with people, feel that vibrational sense of energy and connection? Could I surround myself only with those who felt really aligned with me? And it's been the best professional chapter, but it did come with a little heartache beforehand.
Yeah. I'm sorry that happened to you.
Thank you. And I know Jeana's been through it too.
Yeah. Well, I think mine similar in some ways, different in some ways, because I think for me it was a misalignment on goal. I think I thought that I wanted something that just in my gut I never actually wanted. And that was like a certain title by a certain age and climbing the ladder in advertising and PR, doing content strategy and social media. It's what I started out doing, and I learned a lot in that. But the further up I got, the more this sort of like command and control ladder just wasn't for me, particularly because I don't like having a boss in general. I don't like being told what to do. I like a yeah. You know what? Like, it's not a super popular thing to say out loud, but like, I don't like being told what to do. I can't tell you anyone who really does. And so the closer I got to that realization, the more I realized like I needed to get out of that environment. But it also, the realization kind of set me free too, because it was more of a, it's not me, it's us.
Yeah. So what led me to Carla 2.0 is exactly what y'all are describing. So that was my last gig. And I was just full on rejected. And you know, it was heartbreak. It's interesting, Rachel, that you used the term heartbreak, because it was heartbreaking. I went through a very significant heartbreak, and it manifested itself physically. I got ill. I lost 17 pounds in 30 days. It was just like, there was no denying the heartbreak. And then I set out to go on a very significant healing journey, which included every modality under the sun, from silent retreats to a giant dose of mushrooms to
Excellent.
you know, I went through a deep dark depression. I went through the whole cycle, and on the other side of it, I came to a huge realization. One, I said no to them the first time for a reason. I let my ego get in the way, and it wasn't being done to me; it was being done for me, and it was making room for my purpose.
Yes.
And if I was willing to accept the call. And what I've determined is that in my 25 years turning around businesses, what I found is the best business outcomes come when people love and trust one another. That's when people have the most fun, when they feel the most safe, when they can take risks, when they can make mistakes, and it absolutely drives the best business outcomes. And the opposite of that is true too. So in environments that are unsafe, where they're driven by fear and anxiety, you have the worst business outcomes. And I started to think, man, the way we're working is not working anymore. It's super dated. It's super masculine. And sorry, I say that.
Go for it.
From a energy,
no caveats.
Yeah. No.
Gender perspective, because hey, I was one of those masculine leaders at one point.
Yeah.
So, but I was like, this is due a disruption. We are all getting sick. People are quiet quitting. You know, no one wants to go back into the office for good reason. It's toxic as hell. And I started to establish a point of view, and without even trying, which is wild, two things emerged. One, these amazing, beautiful people started to come into my life. And I thought, God, the world needs to know what these people are doing. They're making a difference in the world. They're heart-led. They're doing it on their terms. They've overcome significant adversity. And I began to tell these stories on the podcast. Made no sense what was driving it, but I was doing it. And then the other thing that emerged was people started to ask me to work with them, to help them. And I began to take this holistic approach, this mind, body, spirit approach to it. And it's wild because we've been able to unlock significant business results as a result, and it's been enormously fulfilling. Like, I cannot express to you how fulfilling it's been. And had you told me 2 or 3 years ago that this would be what I'm doing now, I would have thought you were crazy. But it's where I am.
I mean, it's
Carla,
still a
I
little
love
crazy,
this.
but we love crazy,
Oh
you
my God,
know,
I
like,
love that you said that. Yes, thank
yeah,
you.
yeah,
I identify with that.
yeah. Go
Oh,
ahead,
go ahead,
Rachel.
Jeana.
No, I feel you getting emotional, so I want to let you
Yeah,
have it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Carla, just thank you for sharing that, first of
Yeah.
all. I feel like there's so much pressure to have a buttoned up, sort of PR ready thing to say about a job separation that didn't go as planned. And I find it incredibly refreshing when people can say, and I try to do it, I had to grieve something. It didn't go as I wanted. It was an unexpected rebuilding period, but you ooze positivity. And I also feel like there's really something to flow and ease. So the fact that all these great people started being attracted to you, you had a platform to tell their stories, and now you're doing this wonderful work and it doesn't feel hard or like you're exerting too much effort. I know it sounds a little mystical and woo, but I do believe that when things are meant to be, they flow. And when I was starting my business, I was like, I am just going to freelance for a couple months and then I will go find a quote unquote real job. And in my like couple months that I gave myself, business came to me and I got a lot of introductions and I started landing these retainers, and people are like, do you want to sign up for 12 months? And I'm like, let's date before we get married. Like, are you sure? Like, you don't even really know me. I might not be good. I had to do a lot of confidence rebuilding as well. But once I saw that it was coming inbound, I was like, aha, this is it. And I know, Jeana, I feel like things came your way. And Carla, it sounds so affirming that once you went back to your gut, the right things manifested.
Absolutely. 1,000%. In fact, it was really interesting because the moment I said it out loud, because I was really resistant of it. I was really resistant of it. I was like, I'm not a coach. That's what unemployed people do. They hang their shit, say they're a coach. You know, I didn't know how to define the work that I was doing because it was unconventional.
Who am I?
Exactly. And I was just really resistant of it, you know, and I had people telling me, even my father, when I told him what I was doing, he was like, that is what you were born to do.
Oh, perfect.
Which like gave me the chills, you know. But the moment I said it out loud, and I'm not even saying to the world, I said it out loud in this office to myself, like, I'm going to stop chasing who I was. I'm going to stop. And I'm going to be who I am. Within 10 days, it was like 7 clients, a board, like all this stuff started to flow. Like literally the moment, I mean, the phone rang that afternoon.
I'm so curious because I hear in this process, there was like a little grieving, you know, like
Oh,
there was that. Yeah, and I also hear like a redefinition of your identity. You mentioned that you worked every day of your life since you were 13. So how much of your identity was tied to work then and how much of it is tied to work now, or what's shifted?
yeah, it's so fascinating that you say that because one of the things that happened on the trip that we described was the merging of my personal and professional personas. So there was like a work Carla and there was a personal Carla. And if my friends that didn't know me at work met my friends that knew me at work, they'd be like, "What?" They were not the same person. And that merged during that time. That was like the beginning of me reconnecting to my heart and becoming authentic. But now what I would say is, look, I went through a real dark night of the soul. Who am I if I'm not the provider? You know, I feel like I won a lottery ticket getting to live in this country. I felt like it was my job to take care of my family and maximize on the opportunity. Not just my immediate family, but my extended family. Like, I have no value if I can't provide. You know, I identified with a lot of the validation that comes with being a C-level executive of a publicly traded company, you know, but once I went through that dark night of the soul and lost all of that, what I got back is something that you can't take away from me. And no one can take it away from us. And it was actually a podcast guest that said this to me and I actually was like, "Whoa." He said, "Carla, your purpose isn't something you can find because you can't lose it. It's who you are." And I was like, "Holy shit." I've been looking for what my purpose is, and it's been here all along. It's just
It's
right here.
innate.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Gina. Clearly, we have so much. We're like, I don't know.
Well, I'm curious. Can you define your purpose now? Like, do you have sort of like a sentence or two? I know we've probably heard it and can define it based on what you've said, but what do you say it is?
Oh my God. I'm going to say it. It's going to sound so fucking grandiose.
Good.
No.
I'm here in service of humanity.
Amazing.
We need more use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rachel, do you have one? Like, what's not to throw this at you?
Okay, Jeana, I have never thought about this in terms of language, but the thing that popped in my head, if I had to say, is to be a curious connector.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you're doing
okay, Jeana, what's yours?
I have said for the past few years, I'm here to make friends.
Oh, I love that.
Service of humanity, curious connector, here to make friends. Like, of course we're here together.
That's
Come
right.
on. Yeah.
Oh, Carla, let's go backwards for a second. So once you had, I'll call it the epiphany, and you said this thing out loud in your office and the clients start flowing and things start coalescing, how did it trickle out into your personal life? What did it feel like in marriage, motherhood, and friendship?
Yeah. Gosh, it's such a good question because I think I'm still figuring it out. But I feel, God, you're catching me at like a very emotional time.
We welcome emotions. We actually try to cry almost every other episode.
We'll make this one of the ones.
Yeah.
I have never felt more like heart open, broken open, and more connected to everyone and everything. Like just an abundance of love. I'm also coming off another life altering experience. So, as an aside, last week I was with a dear friend swimming with whales, which has like been a transformational experience. So you're catching me a little weepy, but I just feel very connected to everyone and everything, and very much in service. And as dark as these times can feel right now, I feel very strongly that I have to play a role in helping us stay connected and helping depolarize and shining a light on how we're more similar than different.
Support that wholeheartedly. We interviewed my favorite spiritual medium, Rebecca Rosen, and I was trying to investigate with her a little bit of how to be a person in the world during some really hard, dark, and heavy times. And she echoed some of that language about being a light and focusing on your energy and what you put out into the world. And it's hard. It is, but I applaud you. And I wasn't being facetious when I said I want more of you, because I think if people felt a sense of deep connection and care and tethered to humanity, the world would be the better for it.
Yeah.
More Carla.
And I thank you. And I think there's more of us than not, right? I think evil is in the small minority. We just have to remember that. Unfortunately, media, that's not the way our world works. But we just have to remember there's more of us than we realize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to talk about the group of it all, the cohort of it all, because I've heard the word and seen the word cohort as Rachel and I were doing our deep dives on you. I've seen and heard the word cohort a lot across your work. So I'm wondering like how groups factor in the work you're doing at Co-Effect, and just how you think about yourself as a member of groups and leading groups.
Yeah. So it's interesting. What I first set out to do was I actually wanted to create a YPO disruptor. So I wanted to create something that was more diverse in nature, not focused just on CEOs, something that would have thought leaders, change makers, artists, young people, old people, and create these really interesting networking groups, peer-to-peer networking groups that didn't take shape right away. What took shape was working as individuals. But what's interesting now is I feel like cohort is starting to pick up steam again. As a lot of amazing young people are coming into my life and they're looking for professional community. The idea of cohort, what was born out of that was, how do we create these small communities that can support each other? And the hope was that we'd eventually build a model that would be free, where you could have cohorts of like junior high school girls, middle school girls, right? From around the country supporting each other as a safe space. You could have cohorts of people, nearing the end of their lives, that could hop on Zoom calls together and support one another. So just, it really made me realize that we need community, and people are seeking community and seeking connection. And how do we create something that enables those communities to be built? And that's slowly starting to emerge now. That was the original idea, before the podcast, before the one-on-one coaching that I started to do. But now it's picking up steam again.
I want to help.
Oh,
Yeah.
let's talk about it, because it aligns
Yes.
with the podcast.
Yeah, well, Jeana and I talk a lot about in-person gatherings, and again, digital might be a very important element of what you're talking about with cohorts, just because of logistics. But I think people want to feel a sense of belonging, acceptance, and a part of something that matters. And my head flashed to the amazing Johnny Immerman, who runs a nonprofit called Immerman Angels, and he pairs up people who are newly diagnosed with cancer with a buddy who survived that same form of cancer, and as much as possible is around the same age and gender, and can be somebody who mirrors you in your experience. And I always thought, what a brilliant idea to have like a cancer mentor who can move you through something. And what I like about your cohort thought is, how do you put like-minded people together who care about an issue or going through an experience, and they can buddy up and just like boost one another? I think that's such a brilliant idea, and I really would love to support you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. And you know what it was born out of also was Lindsay Shookus and I are part of the Henry Crown Fellowship. And that brought us to each other. It's been an amazing network of people, and it's changed my life for the better. And I really started to think, how do we expand this to include more people? It shouldn't be limited to people in the C-suite. It shouldn't be limited to a certain demographic.
I think that's a great point. Wheels turning.
I know. There's some incredible groups across the world that do great things based on like life stage and location. Rachel and I have talked about this before, but and you might already know this, Carla, but there's this group in the UK that links up expecting parents based on zip code and expected birth date. And it's, I think the idea of like interest and location is so interesting for these cohorts. But I love making it global too. Okay, more to come. We're here to support whenever you want.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we'll brainstorm on it.
Okay, great. Oh, Rachel, did you have a question? I mean, I was
kind of thinking about our connection conversation, but dive in with your question first.
Okay, one last question and then connection conversation. All right. So raw and unfiltered, sort of the theme of how you speak to others, how you connect with others. There's so much vulnerability in that, which is incredible. Can you talk us through how you know when it's safe to be vulnerable and when you know to hold off?
Ooh, meaning like for me to be vulnerable, or
for you? For you.
Well, I get it wrong sometimes.
Same.
Me too.
Because I err towards being vulnerable. I'd rather get my heart broken than not love at all, which is the opposite of how I was for the majority of my adult life. But I'd rather feel it. Either way, the good and the bad of it. So I err towards being vulnerable.
This open, it's sort of what you're describing as sort of like an open-hearted, open book. Yeah. Come what may.
Come what may.
Yeah. It's like high risk, high reward. And I guess the risk is also quite personal, but if you only share a really compartmentalized version of yourself, what you can receive is also going to be limited. I think there's like an element of symmetry there, but if you give big, you can receive big also. And I don't know, Carla, I was flashing back to when you talked about your work self and then your personal self, because I think what has been challenging for me in my career is that I've always been oneself and haven't really been able to have a different identity at work. So this, whether you liked and responded to me, was sort of the whole me, not just a version of. And again, it took running my own business to be like, oh, I can really reconcile all of it and just be like, this is who I am. And if we want to work together and we're a fit, amazing. And if I'm not for you, like, that's okay too. But not trying to fit into spaces that didn't feel incredibly natural. And I think that I don't want to project for you, but it must feel like a massive relief to not have to wear a mask or put a version of yourself forward that isn't holistic.
Yeah. I mean, Rachel, I applaud you. I absolutely applaud you for that. Congratulations. That's
No, it's kind of an aptitude. Like I just am not good at pretending otherwise. I'm not a great actress.
what a gift, because I did go through a significant portion of my life having to at least context switch and code switch. I don't know that I wore a mask so much all the time, but I was definitely cognizant of the environment that I was in, and I would hold parts of myself back until I couldn't anymore.
Yes. But you also mentioned, I mean, right from the get-go, you talked about the immigrant experience. Do you feel like that was just so embedded and really informed how you felt you could or could not show up? I don't want to dismiss that aspect.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, of course. You come to a country and you don't know the language. That's like your first experience. You can't understand what's going on, being a child in Dallas in the 80s, there was a lot of racism. And my parents, God love them, they, because they went to Montreal first and it was very diverse, they weren't as cognizant of the racism in Dallas when we got there. And so as a result, they made it mandatory that we spoke Spanish. Whereas a lot of immigrant families at that time would forbid their children from speaking Spanish because they didn't want them to be basically rejected for it or experience any bias of any sort. And so, that was a gift, and at the same time kind of set the trajectory of being different, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that I'm different. But yeah, going into environments like in the tech environment as a Latina woman, in the 90s and early aughts, of course, yeah, there were, I was the different one. And that cuts both ways. There were absolute benefits to that, and then there were times where that was inconvenient.
I feel for you with that, because those are not the easiest spaces. I mean, when I talk about showing up as just Rachel, I've always worked in PR, and I feel like that might be a softer space to be super outspoken and high energy and all those things, because the profession is sort of predicated on it. But the places that you were showing up sound, again, very buttoned up, very masculine, very set in a certain way of being. And so I both applaud you and feel for you and all that you had to navigate.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, now I'm unleashed. So, I'm
unleashed. I love that.
Yeah. I feel fully me.
Wild and free.
Totally. Yeah. God help my husband and everybody else.
Who doesn't want an unleashed wife? Come on.
Right. Come on. So to make it actionable, we do have some younger college age listeners. If they're thinking about their life and sort of having an identity, would you give a piece of advice to sort of a younger person entering the professional world around vulnerability?
Yeah. God, yes, I have so many strong opinions about this. Starting from the whole college application process that we've just been through, like these kids are being molded to like fit, to check all these boxes and do a certain career and be a certain way and follow your friggin' joy. Like, be authentic. Stop playing chess with your life. It's all going to work out. Everything is going to be okay. Just follow your friggin' joy. And listen to yourself. Stay still long enough and off your screen long enough to actually listen to yourself and trust yourself. And be your full self. And you were talking about mediums earlier, that I got this really interesting reading right after I left IBM, which was like kind of shocking. She only had my first name. I was traveling. I was on silent retreat. And at the end of the retreat, I gifted myself this Mayan reading. And she said to me, I see you being in environments where you're rejected. And I'm feeling this sense of they're like, get her out of here. And she
Mm.
said, but you want to go to the places where everybody's like, yay, Carla's here. And, so what I would say to these young people that listen is go to the environments where people are cheering that you're there. And if you feel uncomfortable, don't leave. Yeah, don't be there. Life is too damn short.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, let's have a connection conversation.
Oh, that is going to resonate for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. Get out. I love it. Rachel, you ready to have the connection conversation?
Yeah. So Carla, we have
Okay.
these 3 questions we ask. I think I popped them your way so you could think about it ahead of time. But the first question we always ask is, what is the last connection you made, or a connection of note that you want to share?
Yeah, so I was just traveling, like I mentioned. One of my friends, Kareem, is a nature photographer and filmmaker, and he has an organization called Dances with Whales, where he hosts trips swimming with whales around the globe. And I joined him and a group of people, and we super bonded on this trip. And we especially bonded with our local guides, Menotea and his brother Igor. And it was just a very, very powerful, powerful trip. And I'm always reminded on these trips, I mean, we were in an island called Rurutu that has a population of 3,000. You know, these people could not have had a more different upbringing than I've had. And there was like genuine love and affection there after the end of a week together. And so, so I would say that's the most recent one. And it was extremely, extremely powerful. And all of us on the trip really bonded.
Sounds incredible. Jeana and I often talk about the value of traveling with people because you compress your bonding into hours and hours together, so you get to move faster through a relationship cycle.
Exactly. Because what other time are you going to give somebody hours, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, agree.
I desperately wanted to Google dances with whales while you were talking, but I'm in it. I'm listening.
Okay.
It is such a good name.
I'm going
Yeah.
back. I want to go back. Just FYI.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yes.
drag Lindsay with me.
Oh, okay. Dream trip. Okay. So what is one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self about connecting that you've learned through your years?
Yeah. Don't zip your heart up. Don't be afraid of the heartbreak. It's okay. It's better to feel that than to be numb for the next 30 years. So just go for it.
Good dating advice too.
Yeah. Everything that applies to everything. So I'm saying that, I'm like, yes, just don't zip your heart up.
Yeah.
Put it on a
Zip
pillow,
your
man.
heart up.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't zip it up.
Oh. Okay. Last question. It feels as though you've met a lot of incredible people, but is there someone you have not yet connected with that would be your dream connection?
Okay, this is probably the moment where I should try and manifest something like
Mhm.
Oprah or the Obamas. But the reality is, when I saw this question, my first reaction was, I want to continue to connect deeply with the people that are in my life. So my children, my friends, I just want to continue to deepen those relationships. Of course, I fantasize about being deeply connected to people that I don't know, and it's really easy to pick a celebrity because they're out there in the zeitgeist. But what I really long for is deep, meaningful connection with the people that are in my life right now.
That's perfect.
It really is. And I believe that you can manifest that.
Yeah.
Thank you. But if Oprah and the Obamas want to meet, I'm down.
Yeah, Michelle.
Yeah. So funny. We have gotten a lot of Michelle and a lot of Oprah.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Wow. What a joy it was to spend time with you today, Carla.
Thank
Lindsay
you.
was right. You're amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so glad she connected us.
Please come to Austin, and I want to go visit your place once it's ready.
You're invited.
You love how I invited myself? I do that.
Yeah. No, you're
Yes,
invited.
instead of swimming with
Yeah.
whales, you're going to do some other amazing things at Petite Acres.
Yeah.
Amazing.
We'll go paddleboarding on Lake Michigan. It's
Oh,
lovely.
that's totally my jam. I would love that.
Yep.
Oh, Carla, thank you so much. You are clearly really special. I love that we were connected, and thank you for giving us this time.
Thank you so
And-
much for having me on.
Before we go, I forgot to do this. Before
yes,
we go,
yes.
Carla. Yeah. Where do you want everybody to find you? I know we disconnect from tech sometimes, but if we're connected to tech, where should people go looking for you?
Yeah, so the Let's Go There podcast with Carla Piñeyro Sublett is on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, so all the main platforms. You can also go to thecoeffect.co to learn more, and that's effect, EFFECT, thecoeffect.co.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, y'all.
I want to go visit Carla in Austin.
I think honestly, like I would plan a trip just to see Carla. Is that weird?
No, let's take the show on the road. Let's go visit her. She just emanates great energy. She's interesting. She was down to earth, all that you could hope for.
We could stay at my new favorite hotel, the Magdalena. I really love that place.
Don't worry.
So cute.
That's where I stay when I go on Siete trips.
Is it?
I know exactly
love
what
that
you're
place.
talking about. Yes.
Great, good spot. Okay, great. We know where we're staying. Carla, come hang out with us. You don't have to hang out with us the whole time.
But like a little bit.
A little bit. We did off tape. Rachel and I were like, we love you. So we really liked her.
I think we're batting 100 for guests that are just really lovely humans that we're so happy to spend time with.
Yeah. Lucky to do this as a fun project. And I wish we could have actually invited her to show and tell because I feel like she would have had something to share. But should we do a show and tell?
Let's do it.
Okay. You go first or I go
Jeana.
first? What do you want? You want me to go first?
Yeah, mine's a little heavy. So
Okay.
should we get the heavy out of the way?
Let's
light.
get the
Okay.
mine is super late. Let's do the heavy one first.
Okay. It's heavy but meaningful. And I feel like there's a lesson here that is worth sharing.
Okay.
So I recently learned when I ran into someone at an event that a mutual friend of ours, who I have probably not talked to for give or take 20 years, experienced a very devastating loss.
Mm.
And I was really thinking about what I should do. Should I reach back out after all these decades? Should I be silent? Would it be more painful if I reached back out to acknowledge the loss? It was about a year ago. I just felt so uncomfortable and also so sad. I mean, just the worst thing. And so I mentioned this to a different friend of mine that I was kind of grappling with the best way to handle. And she gave me excellent advice, which is what I want to share. She said, you reach out to somebody who's gone through something hard. You send a message that you're thinking of them and that you love them and you care about them and that they do not need to respond at all, but you just wanted to let them know. And I thought it was so powerful that even though it's uncomfortable and even though I wasn't quite sure what to say, that silence was not the best path. It was better to lean in. So I had to send an initial text of, is this still your phone number? It's been so long. And the friend wrote back that it was, hello. And so I just jumped in to say that I had recently learned about this. I am so deeply sorry. My heart is with you and your family. I also want to let you know that even though we've lost touch, your friendship has always meant a lot to me and I value it. And I'm just here. And we exchanged some really lovely messages. And afterwards I thought, I'm so glad I did that and that somebody gave me this advice because I really wasn't sure. But I think the takeaway is don't pull back from grief. Don't pull back from somebody's hard moment. If you have any relationship at all, no matter how long it's been, you can always reconnect to express your sympathy.
Yeah, I think it was Brene Brown who said that the instinct is to turn away from the hard stuff. And the instinct is to just say nothing. But really what the soul wants and the heart wants is exactly what you did, Rachel. Just like say the hard thing, lean into being there for someone, lean into the vulnerability, which we talked about a lot on this episode. And no one has the right words, but
which I didn't.
But the words themselves, the fact that you care is what matters.
That's what I was trying to go with. I didn't think there was any perfect way to script how to help somebody who's grieving at that scale, but I just wanted the acknowledgement to be there most of all.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you reached out. And I think it is such a poignant reminder that like, if we all turn away from the hard stuff, then no one gets support when they need it.
So true. Yes. So just because I was kind of stumbling through this and figuring it out, I thought it might be a little bit helpful. And then we should end on a lighter note, which is your show and tell.
My show and tell is not grief and loss at all. Well, it is a little bit. Okay, so my show and tell is the 5th book in the Thursday Murder Club series. It's out. And and I love this series of books. I cannot recommend it enough because it's based, and if you haven't read it, I really recommend it. It's not only is it a lovely series that has mystery, but it also has just the theme of friendship. It's sort of like this unlikely group of friends who all met in a retirement home. And I love the way their friendships are sort of formed around a group activity. They solve murders. They solve mysteries. But I also love the way that they show up for each other. And there are themes of grief and loss and support, and also the way your lives change and shift as far as meaning goes when you're retired. So you see these characters sort of redefine their identities after their working lives. There's a retired psychiatrist. There's a retired union leader. It's hard to really define the character Ron because I feel like he might also be a little bit mob type, but that's fine. There's a retired spy, and then there's a retired nurse, and they all have these like knowledge sets and skills, and it's so lovely to watch these characters evolve throughout the series of the books, and also watch them become deeper and closer friends through it all. So I just think it's a lovely celebration of, one, like friendships that cross genders, and 2, friendships that are sort of formed later in life, because we all need friends at all stages of life. So read the Thursday Murder Club series.
I think I might need something that's a good distraction. So, noting.
It's a quick read. All of the books are sort of quick reads. They're so satisfying. Every book gets better in the series as it goes. That's not always true in a series. This one, it's so true. It's a movie now, but the books are better. Obviously, the books are better than the movies.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
Well, I feel like we could talk all day, and that's the theme of Rachel and my conversations. Every time we talk, there's never enough time, Rachel.
It's true. I think we have one long conversation punctuated by breaks.
Yeah, yes, and text messages and having to do work, I guess. But this has been another episode of The Connection Code, a podcast about friends, connections, work, and everything in between. This is a production by 2 friends, Rachel Gilman-Rischel and Jeana Anderson-Cohen. You can follow us wherever you follow people, like on the internet, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, using our full names. Thank you so much to Carla for being a guest today. We loved having you. Thanks to Ben Cleaver for editing this podcast. And thanks to all of you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.